What is up, YouTube? It's good to see y'all. Welcome back to another video. I have been waiting to make this video for such a long time. You have no idea and why. The reason is because I've been doing so many one-on-ones the last couple months. People have been paying to meet with me for guidance and how they can do it. And now literally everything I share in my one-on-ones, I'm gonna share for free in this video because there are people who can't afford it. And that's totally fine. If you can't afford it, I'm gonna show you how you can do it right now. Now, how do you do it? How can I do it, Chris? Is it really possible? Yes, it's possible to become a developer in 6 months. When I say possible, it's possible to get your first job, but it doesn't mean you're gonna be a good developer. What I'm gonna show you in this video is how you can actually do it if you follow the step-by-step guide that I share with you. For some people, it takes 6 months. For some people, it might take a year. But the goal of this video is to show how you can do it to make sure that you make it to the end goal. Before I go through the step-by-step process in my office, I want to first share with you a few things before we go on. Number one, this is not going to be easy. Throughout this entire process, 6 months, a year, 2 years, however long it takes you to do this, you're gonna wanna give up multiple times throughout the process, if not every single day. Number two, you're gonna consistently doubt yourself, thinking, I'm not good enough. Why is it so hard for me to just understand HTML and CSS? Or I know HTML, CSS, I was able to grasp that. Why is JavaScript, my first programming language that I ever learned, so freaking difficult? First of all, it's supposed to be difficult. If it's not difficult, then why would we be paid so much money? We're paid this well for a reason. And then next, last but not least, please understand, consistency and discipline wins over motivation every single time. Yes, there'll be times you don't want to learn code. That's when you should learn. Yes, there'll be times when you're tired because you had a long day. That's when you should learn. A lot of people that I've met in my one-on-ones have often told me, Chris, I just don't have the motivation to continue learning as consistent as you want me to do. And I'm telling you, it's not about following how you feel. It's about sticking to a schedule, being consistent and disciplined, and not listening to just when I want to learn code. If that's the case, you won't make it. You won't make it to the end. You won't make it to your first job. If you do end up becoming a developer, you probably won't last that long if you continuously only follow how you feel. This tech industry, this tech career is very competitive. People get laid off. Some people lose their jobs because they're just not good enough. You got to make sure that that's not you. Consistency wins. That's it. Anyway, let's go over how you can do this. Let's go over the step-by-step guide on how to do this in 6 months. Let's go to the office. Okay, so I'm in the studio right now and let's get into this right away. Now, I want you to first of all note that when it comes to these courses, I will be recommending something called zerotomastery.io, links in the description. Please note that you do not need to use these courses. Whatever course you want to choose is entirely up to you. I recommend these courses because first of all, number one, I use this personally. I'm using the Python course on here. I've already done 63% of this. And why am I learning Python when I've been a front-end developer for 5 years? I'm learning Python because I'm working in the data engineering field now. And because I'm working in the data engineering field, I need to know Python. I need to learn how to work with databases, relational databases, non-relational databases, data warehouses, data lakes, you name it, everything data engineering. And so the thing is, because I have zero experience with Python prior to my current job, if I don't know Python well, I'll lose my job. So my life is literally on the line. And so I'm literally learning Python on here, depending on this to help me become better on it and pretty much to help me just know the basics and to help me succeed in my career working in data now, right? So number one, yeah, I use this to learn Python myself. I've done 63% of that. And not even just that, my stepdad, who is 6 years old, wants to become a web developer now. And so he's even using this himself. And you can tell that he's done 42% of this. I'm literally having my own stepdad do that. I've used this to learn advanced JavaScript concepts and etc. And yeah, so anyway, so you see this on the screen. That's what I'm doing. I actually do use this to learn, and I recommend this to many other people, including my own family members who want to get in tech to learn as well. Okay, so anyway, now, how do we do this? How do we become a developer in 6 months? What do I recommend? Now, when it comes to courses, again, you can use whatever course you want. I personally recommend what I've actually had my stepdad start doing. So number one, okay, first of all, before we get into this, one of the reasons I generally do recommend Zero to Mastery is literally because they teach you what you need to know, like what you will do in a job. And the thing is, they don't even just teach you what you need to know. They teach you what you need to know, and they teach you even more than that, which is extremely valuable. So that's one of the reasons, of many reasons why I recommend them. Anyway, so how do we do this? If we were to use Zero to Mastery, use this particular course, I would recommend, let's go back. this course right here. You can get to see Udemy too. You don't have to get on zeromastery.io. Complete Web Developer in 2022 Zero to Mastery. I recommend that. Now, when it comes to learning code, in order to become a web developer, you first need to know HTML, CSS, right? So what I recommend, you go through this introduction, history of the web, which is huge. Knowing the history of the web and bringing that up during interview can go a long way. Okay, so now that we're at this part in the course, you see that we're here at HTML5, right? It goes up to advanced HTML5, CSS, advanced CSS, Bootstrap. What I recommend within the first 1 to 2 months, to be honest, first month in general, I'd recommend you focus on HTML and CSS your first month, but I would not recommend you learning any more than 1 or 2 months max, 2 months max on this. Why? The reason is because when it comes to HTML and CSS, you can pretty much learn whatever you need to know through Google. Literally Googling how to build a navigation bar, how to build a footer, drop-down menu, how to use grid, how to use Bootstrap, you name it, whatever comes to CSS and HTML. A lot of it is on the internet and in Google. And the thing is, you don't really get a lot of exposure to this until you get work on a job anyway, right? Same thing with JavaScript, but in particular HTML, CSS, it's not easy, but it's much easier than JavaScript, right? So I would recommend month number 1, 2 months tops, HTML, CSS. Now, if you do go through this course pretty fast, one thing I want you to know and understand is your job, your goal is not to just have these check marks next to these small, 3-minute, 4-minute videos. That's not your goal. Your goal is to understand all of this as you're learning code. So as you're going through these courses, I highly, highly recommend that you go through these courses, but when you click a check mark, before you complete it, your goal is to understand what you're learning. Your goal is to understand how things work. You might not memorize it, but you want to understand how HTML works, how CSS works, what are CSS properties, selectors, and being able to understand that. Why? Because that will help you advance so much more quickly. I made a mistake early in my career where I would depend, when I was in tutorial hell, I would just depend on tutorials, thinking that if I finished an entire tutorial, spend 20-30 hours on that would make me a good developer. It does not. It just makes you more dependent on tutorials. Again, your goal is to understand it and grasp and move on, not stick on a tutorial or depend on tutorials for the rest of your life. Okay, video tutorials is what I mean. Okay, so 1 or 2 months, say 2 months, HTML, CSS, you go through all this advanced stuff, Bootstrap, CSS grid, CSS layouts, career web developer, right? So your goal is to go through this within 1 to 2 months. And let's just say it takes you 2 months to go through that for some reason. Now on month number 3, now you're here in JavaScript. You're here in JavaScript now. This course is excellent when it comes to JavaScript. What I would do for month number 2 and 3, for those next 2 months, focus on JavaScript, but not just, again, going through these courses, flying through it, but literally go through these courses and make sure you really understand what you're learning, right? When it comes to, I don't know, let's say arrays. What is an array? I remember I was scared of that, or even functions. What is a function? What are data structures? What are loops, for loops, etc.? You name it. How to write a loop in a loop. Right? Whatever the course teaches you, your goal isn't just to pass through it, but understand it and grasp it. This is extremely important because JavaScript is where the money is at. So when you're going through JavaScript, you want to understand this. You don't need to master it. Your goal should not be to master any of this stuff because you never will master it, first of all. Even when you work in tech, it'll take you years to master it. You won't be able to master it in a couple months. But to grasp it, why? Because in order for you to understand React, JavaScript, which is where all the money is at, you need to have a good understanding, decent understanding, good foundation in vanilla JavaScript. But what I love about this, okay, is that they bring you through JavaScript. They teach you how to manipulate the DOM using JavaScript, and then they even teach you advanced JavaScript, etc., which is really good. And they go above and beyond. And I would say, in your course, you go through the command line, work with the command line. It's easier than people realize. It's not easy, but it gets easier as you work through it. So it'll bring you to your developer environment, how to set up a developer environment. What is it? Sublime Text, VS Code, whatever text editor you want to use. They bring it through Git and GitHub, and this is the kind of stuff. GitHub is something you use on a daily basis at work. It might be GitLabs, that may be something else, right? They teach you things that you need to know as a developer. And to continue, they even bring you through something called NPM scripts. These are things that you work on often, and etc. So my goal with this, when it comes to JavaScript and learning these additional things in this course, 2 months. Spend 2 months within this. Now, if it takes you 3 months or 4 months, that's fine, to be honest. Because for me, I'm a slow learner. I have a learning disability. I am dyslexic. And so for me, it takes me longer to learn code than a normal average person. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So if it does take you longer, don't be so hard on yourself. Don't beat yourself down because of that, okay? Now, once you get to React.js, React JavaScript, Stop taking this course. The Complete Web Development 2022 course, or whatever you're using to learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Once you go through JavaScript, stop right there. So now, once you finally fully understand JavaScript, not fully, but you have a good grasp on understanding, going through advanced JavaScript, you know what? If you want to as well, I highly recommend this, JavaScript, the Advanced Concepts. I use this to help me better understand JavaScript. To be honest, I've been using Zero to Mastery before I even became an affiliate for them. I didn't even know you could be an affiliate for them until they reached out to me, because I stopped recommending Treehouse after they laid off so many employees and Treehouse went down the drain. Okay, so once you've gone through JavaScript, if you want to do advanced JavaScript, it's up to you. I do recommend it. It helps a lot to have a good understanding of JavaScript. You go here. This Complete React Developer course in 2022, you learn Redux, hooks, how to work with GraphQL, which is huge. Working with APIs is something we do on a weekly, if not daily basis, depending on what you do at your job. Huge for tech, for your career as well. You go through here, what I would recommend after you go through HTML, CSS in 1 month, JavaScript, advanced JavaScript in 2 to 3 months, right? On your 2nd month, 3rd month, then you're here in React. What I recommend, React, you focus another 2 months. Okay, that's huge because HTML, CSS 1 month. You focus on building a strong foundation for 2 more months. Then on your 4th and 5th month, you highly focus on learning React.js, understanding the basics of it, having a strong foundation, building whatever you need to build. This is what I would recommend next. You finish this in 2 months. If it takes you 3 months, 4 months, that's fine. I know someone who could only study an hour of code every single day because they're raising family, they work full time, and then they study additional 6 hours during the weekend. If that's you, that's fine if it takes longer. But this is what I would recommend if you're trying to do this in 6 months, assuming you have a lot of time to learn code. For 2 months, straight focus on this, highly focus on this. And what's amazing about this is that they teach you what you need to know about React. Look at this, the React basics. They teach you routing, which is huge. How to work with Firebase, state management, how to deploy Netlify, which is huge. You want to host a website for free, use Netlify. They teach you all these things and they go above and beyond to help you understand and how things work as a developer. This is huge. So you complete this in 2 months and that's it, okay? And now this is the easy part. Oh, okay, now learning code isn't easy, but those 5 months, HTML, CSS, month 1, 2, month 2 and 3, learning vanilla JavaScript, advanced JavaScript if you have time for that. Month 4 and 5, you're learning React.js, completing this course or whatever course you're using. Now, Chris, I've been learning for 5 months. I haven't even built any project except the projects they have here in Zero to Mastery. How am I even supposed to get a job, Chris? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm very glad you asked. This is where we go to the next part. Okay. Now, a problem that I have with people fully depending on video tutorials, again, this was me. I was in tutorial hell. A problem that I have is that these tutorials take 30, 40 hours. For some people, it might take 2 to 3 months, if not half a year. And the thing is, people think that if you complete a tutorial, you're a good enough developer. That's not true at all. A developer is someone who learns to debug. A developer is someone who learns how to solve problems, that when you encounter a problem, you overcome that. You learn how to research, how to find a way around something if code isn't working, if the API might be outdated, figuring a way around that, researching, etc. This is what makes a developer, and this is why we're paid so well, because we solve problems, right? So here's a way that you can do that. Not even just that. Now you don't need to depend on video tutorials that take months to complete to build one big project. There's also a way where you can build one simple project per day, per weekend, per Saturday and Sunday. 2 projects per week. If there's a way for you to build 2 projects per week without putting so much time in it, and you do that every week for a month, 4 weeks in a month, that's 8 projects in your portfolio after 1 month. Imagine if you do that for 2 months, that's 16 projects. Imagine if you put in more time, you can have 20 projects. Is there a way to do that quickly without spending 20, 30 hours on one project for your portfolio? Yes. And I'm gonna show you how right now. Let's do this. Okay, so we're going to dev.to, okay? And what I'm going to Google here in dev.to is this. Let's say a project that you could build is dev.to tic-tac-toe. So here's a simple project. So this is a project in vanilla JavaScript. Okay, this is a tic-tac-toe project. And now what is great about this? Look at this. Let's look how long this project is. Okay, scroll down. Here's HTML, here's CSS, here's JavaScript, more JavaScript, and etc. And so you follow this technical blog post on JavaScript. Listen, this should take 1-2 hours, maybe 3. It's a 4 hours tops, maybe. All right, depending on how much understanding you have in JavaScript. You follow this guide in 3 to 4 hours tops. If not 2 hours, you've completed one project. You've completed one project. You add that to your portfolio on top of the 3 to 4 projects you've already done through Zero to Mastery courses. Let's just say it's project number 4 or 5. Let's just say 4, project number 4. You have 4 projects in your portfolio. Now, that's simple. What's great about this now is that when you're reading these technical blog posts, now you're learning how developers talk, right? Look, this person is showing you their GitHub that has a complete course. You're learning how to build things. This is huge. This is really huge. Why? Because now you're learning how developers think, how developers talk, what verbiage we use. You're not just listening to a video that tells you what to do step by step, but you're reading it. You're trying to analyze what you're doing. It's huge. It's a world of a difference. Okay, so that's just one project. All right, let's look for another one. What's another one? Dev.to, let's say Google Maps, React.js. Look at this. Now, here's another project. I mean, I don't know what this is, but easy way to integrate Google Maps and React. More often than not, you will be asked to add a map coming from Google Maps to a website you're developing. Put this on your portfolio website. Boom. And then push that to GitHub. Boom. This is another project. And the thing is, these projects don't have to be full stack projects. They could be really small. You add it to your list of a project you did, you commit that to GitHub. And now during your interview with someone, you can share with them, hey, one of the things that I actually really enjoyed doing when learning how to code, building these 20 projects that I have, was working with the React Google Maps API. Huge. You bring that up, that already makes you sound so much better than every other person who has a portfolio out there who's trying to get a junior position, entry-level job. Why? Why does that make you stand out? This makes you stand out because everyone has the same projects. Everyone has the same tutorials. Everyone uses the same complete boot camp, whatever courses out there, Udemy. A lot of people use their mastery. Everyone has the same projects. You want to stand out because not a lot of people do this. And the thing is, look at this. This was written in September 29, 2021. So maybe some of the code's outdated. Maybe not everything will work here. We're in July 2022. So not everything will work in here. Well, let's say some of the code is outdated. Well, guess what? You have to learn and think like a developer, debug this. When you're debugging this, what will that do? Help you improve even that much more. And you can bring that up during your interviews saying, rather than depending on video tutorials all the time, I actually tried using outdated technical blog posts because the code would not be up to date. And so I actually learned how to debug even that much more better because I had to figure out how to debug these things that were not working. Huge, right? And then you just literally do the same thing over and over again, try to find more projects in React, whatever technology you're trying to learn. You can do 2 projects per weekend. And listen, one thing I want to add, there's a reason I'm mentioning working on these projects in the weekend, not on the weekdays. Why? Because you have a month, first of all, you're in month number 6, you want to get a job in 6 months. In month number 6, you don't have a lot of time. So you're building 2 projects per weekend in a month. Maybe it's 5 weeks a month. That can be what, 2 projects times 5, 10. Or you're building, or there's 4 weeks in a month and you're building 8 projects in a month. That's a lot, plus the 2 to 3 projects you're loading from your tutorials already. That's already 11, right? 11, if not 12 projects you have in your portfolio. You already stand out more than everyone else. Why? Because everyone else only has 3 projects and they have the exact same portfolio like everyone else because they use the same tutorials. You already stand out. But you work these projects in the weekends. Why? Because of what I recommend you to do Monday to Friday during the weekdays. Hey, you need to make sure you ace these coding interviews. You can get that interview using these amount of projects you have, but you will not get the job unless you pass the coding interview. And unfortunately, a lot of jobs today, what do they have you do? They want you to do lead code questions, whiteboard interviews during coding interviews, even though that has nothing to do with your job. So what do I recommend? I don't know what good websites out there. The only one I know is Lead Code, right? So you can do Lead Code, use this website or whatever website you want to learn to become a better developer, right? To learn how to problem solve, how to do lead code questions so that when you have the coding interview at that job, you no longer have the anxiety thinking, I'm not good enough at this anymore. Right? No, I can do it. For example, but let's say they have something, it says C++, Java, and Python. They'll have stuff on JavaScript as well. Let's say you do well in half of the lead code questions in JavaScript. You're more prepared for coding interviews. You don't have to feel as much anxiety. You're ready. This helps you out. You're good to go. On these coding interviews, whatever they throw at you, do it. You'll be good to go, especially in JavaScript. Imagine you're working on projects every weekend, building 2 projects per weekend. You have 8, not 10, if not 12 projects. At the end of month 6, you're doing really well in lead code now. You have a foundation or React.js, vanilla JavaScript, you know HTML, CSS. You know how to use Google to build things in HTML, CSS. You start applying to jobs. You're good at lead code. You pass the coding interview. After 6 months, you get your first job as a web developer. This is what I recommend. Anyway, let's go back out to the studio. This office is really hot. Let's get out of here. All right, we went through the step-by-step process and how to exactly do this in 6 months. Month number 1, HTML, CSS. Month number 2, you go through JavaScript, advanced JavaScript. Same with month number 3, then month number 4 and 5, you're going through React.js. you're learning whatever you need to know through whatever tutorials you're going through. Month number 6, on the weekends, your goal is to build 1 or 2 projects every weekend. And then Monday to Friday, you're going through these leak code questions to help you pass and ace your coding interviews. Yo, I'm excited. If anyone in this video actually made it to the end, please let me know. That would be amazing because I know this is a very long video, but I really hope this helps you. If this actually did help you, let us know in the comment section below. Any of the questions, anything I missed, let me know in the comment section below as well. And if you can't, please like this video and subscribe. Thank you for watching. My name is Krishan, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.